So, thank you for staying with us. We are still discussing insecurity in Nigeria, and we're looking at all of the angles possible. Joining us now is Air Vice Marshal Femi Gbadebo, an officer of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, OFR, a qualified instructor pilot on fast military jet aircraft, a qualified aircraft accident investigator, and disaster management expert. AVM Femi Gbadebo, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you for joining us this morning, sir.
Happy Democracy Day.
Happy Democracy Day.
Happy
Unfortunately,
Democracy Day.
we have an anxious nation with so many worried about the state of insecurity. AVM, what is going on?
We're dealing with, I'll say something that we never really adjust ourselves to, which is the fact that our security has always been about our big cities, with little attention to our rural areas. If you travel to any small local government that is dispersed from the big cities, what you will find is very little police presence, no military presence, and again, even at that level, where you are having sometimes just a police post with about 6 men, if they have arms at all, they're rudimentary arms. These people are only used to dealing with little skirmishes in the market and so on. Then, if you really look at Nigeria from the air, you'll find that our cities, our population centers, even if you call them villages, have always been centered around road networks and rail networks. And as I remember particularly when I was much younger, when we were traveling a lot by road, when the Abuja next highway was built, that is Abuja-Kaduna Highway, you could hardly find any settlements there. But over a couple of years, the settlements either on the rail tracks or have moved there, and they settled there. What does that mean? A lot of open space in Nigeria that are not policed, and the rural communities do not have the effective kind of security management to tackle what we now see as terrorists and kidnappers and all that is happening. What's the size of the Nigerian police? You're talking about one policeman to about 600 individuals. That is way, way, way short of the UN standard. I think it must have been around 2006 or so that the Nigerian government decided to do a massive recruitment of policemen. That is like about 10,000 men. After that, what happened? We went to sleep again. Okay, and so these are the issues that we are tackling with. Our armed forces are trained to fight external aggression, not internal aggression. Our Nigerian people, particularly in the South, are peace-loving people. So even if you tell them to arm themselves, to look at another human being and shoot takes a bit of change of mindset. The terrorists, herdsmen, and all that we're talking about, some of them are, yes, we talk about those that some political parties were supposed to have brought in 2015 to, fight and make sure they won the election. But we also have the natural Fulani men who are in the wild. Then we had a lot of fighters who are that were abandoned by the generals in Chad, who filtered into Nigeria from the northeast, who formed part of Boko Haram. And they have continued to move. So if you remember, we had a Northeast Security Force in 1996 to maybe 2019, 92, 93, which is technically still on. But it has moved to the Bauchi Gombe Road and on into Kaduna, on into Abuja, Kaduna Abuja Road, Then you have Kaduna to Kuntagora Road, and we have found them now in Nasarawa State.
Yeah.
Coming technically through the back, through what we call the forest and the bushes. Even if we go to areas where we have a lot of farmland, what you find is the farms are just a couple of kilometers away from settlements that are on the road.
Yes.
So when the Fulani men started coming to settle, what they did was to just settle on the outskirts of towns. And they started to expand backwards. You could find maybe a team of 5 families with cattle come to settle in your area. 10 years later, what you have is easily 300 families.
Yes.
Moving farther backwards. And playing with the constitution, you see some of them now saying that they own the land, they have a right to settle there. They have married, they have children, grandchildren who are raised in those areas.
Exactly.
They
have
speak
settled.
your dialect very well.
Yes.
You know, whether it's Yoruba, Igbo, Ibira, or Chief, whatever language you want to talk about. And they are what we call the peace-loving Fulani men. So when these infiltrations of whether the recruited terrorists or the renegades took from Chad and all came, we also saw something that they also started to raid the cattle when we started having them stealing cattle. And so what happened? People started to arm the Fulani to defend themselves. And so we have a mixture of this confusion all around us. And when we talk about the cattle, let me tell you, I served in Kano between 1976 as a young officer up to 2000, and I also served in Yola and Makodi and all that. And what you find is that most of the cattle you see going around you don't really belong to the herdsmen. They belong to our elite.
Yes.
Politicians, businessmen, top military officers, because people discovered a long time ago that cattle is a very low form of investment that really requires very little from you in terms of maintenance. And the town, what I would say, the good Fulani, because we have to separate between the good and the bad, the good Fulani are very honest, trustworthy people. There's an understanding, I don't have the formula again, but it's like you give them like 10 cattle, maybe with a mixture of male and female, and every year the females will, keep retinue of, offspring. And there's a sharing formula where maybe like for every 5, the Fulani man gets 1. Even though they are being managed together. So what it means is that every couple of years, your number of cows increase exponentially. You don't pay these people anything. You don't do any veterinary management. You don't pay for feeding. They just roam around. And whenever you need to sell a few cattle, you just sell them and you make some money. So it's a very interesting business. That's why you'll find most of the people talking about, free range, and every other thing. They know what they are talking about.
Okay, so AVM, I need to interrupt you at this time. Yeah. Okay, because this segment is about solutions. So I really enjoyed your analysis. Fantastic of how, the Fulani men, and I don't even like us to even put labels on anybody because we're all Nigerians. We should be able to settle and live in any part of the, country. But, like last weekend, there was an incident in Oyo State. There was an allegation that it was Fulani headsmen, shops were burned, people lost their properties. So since we're talking about solutions, how do we begin to solve these issues? How do we ensure that this does not happen again in not just Oyo State, but in any part, of the country? Because yes, we have been, like you've explained, people from Chad, but I don't know the difference between the person from Chad and the Fulani, the Fulani man, or the, yes. Even in the South, we do this thing where we say the Hausa and Fulani are just literally the same, the same to us. But the solution is, what do we need to do as a people, as a government, to be able to ensure that these incidents don't occur again?
Well, the solution, what I was trying to explain to you is that we are really far gone in terms of management. Sometimes my friends will tell you that I can talk a lot, and that's because I have a lot of history and a lot of knowledge and so on about things. And it comes from the failures of those who are born and raised in the South, and some of us who are fortunate to have spent a large period of our time in the North. We tend to see the people in the North are not educated. In fact, I listened to somebody speak yesterday saying they are illiterate. You see, literacy is a question of language. If somebody doesn't speak your language, they look like illiterate. But you will find that the average Fulani man, not Fulani man, but average northern outer man, whether Fulani or not, goes around with a transistor radio. And he's constantly listening, not to Radio Nigeria, he's listening to BBC, he's listening to Deutsche Welle, he's listening to Radio Moscow, France Radio and all that, and even VOA, Hausa service.
Yes.
We have had instances when people complain that Mr. President sometimes speaks on Hausa services. It is because he's connecting to the grassroots. If you look at the Fulani man, no matter how wretched he looks, what you will see is a sense of arrogance, a sense of importance. So what I'm saying, there are people to blame on our elite, our leaders, and so on. While they have constantly educated their people as to their place in this place called Nigeria, as to their importance, etc., etc. And because they have a loyalty to religion, they have their commitment, to, let's say, the Arewa commitment. When you come to the south or the east or the south, and so on, there's no real commitment. Especially from the younger ones, because the elder people have, disappointed, have taken advantage and for their own benefit. So until we begin to understand that from the primary school level, we must begin to educate people. We talk about the pledge now, but it's like, what happens after the national anthem and the pledge? What do they understand about Nigeria? And so on. That's the loyalty. What do they see from their elders? You see, when a primary school teacher is already playing games, when maybe they are supposed to take photographs, and the story I'm sure has gone around a lot, where the teacher has already added the privacy, and it goes on like that. What is the child learning? That this is how it is done. When in the university, the lecturers are giving marks for whatever, whether it is sex or money and all that. What are the students learning? I remember one student that told me one time that she was having a problem with her thesis. And because the lecturer said it is from this thesis he was going to buy a new car. This was maybe about 1998 or so. And I said, how much is the handout and so on? Then she laughed. And at that time, it was like maybe 1,500. And she said there were over 500 students. Do the math. Do you understand? So this is the problem we're getting, where we're talking about Nigeria belongs to the youth. But the youth have been corrupted by the mismanagement that they've seen from the elders or those who are molding them. And so it's more of an issue of to your tents, O Israel. But when we're saying to your tents, in the south, the tents are becoming so broken up that there are thousands of tents. In the north, it's still reasonably one tent, okay? But then come back to what I said about using arms and ammunition. We had a situation where for a long time, it was like we were mocking up arms in the south, whether it's from Niger Delta youths to various communities, it was illegal for you to carry arms, have AK-47 and so on. But the herdsmen, they were carrying arms to protect themselves. And we see videos of even young children of maybe 12, 14, boys and girls who have mastered the management of an AK-47, shooting, loading, and so on. In the South, where do you see that happening? Now we finally got an okay from Mr. President that everybody should protect themselves. We started from the Minister of Defense. But what do we see immediately after that statement? A governor in Lagos, a governor in Ondo State, they've spent so much money to buy, equipment for the Nigerian police.
AVM, can you hear me? Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry, I have to put a pause on that now because we're running fast out of time. And I think all put together, you've made a case for communication, maybe connectivity, between the executive and the rest of us and all of that. But I mean, I think your point has been noted and is well taken. We have to start wrapping up now, but for a nation that's over 60 years post-colonialism and several years in democratic governance, one would expect that by now we would have been able to, organize ourselves more effectively, especially as it concerns our security, our security system. Is there any final word you want to give to the executive on one side and then us as a people, for us to be able to effect something that is worth talking about?
From Mr. President's statement a couple of days ago, it is clear now that governors, they always say they are the chief security officer of the state. Now they need to put the money where their mouth is. They need to set up their own forms of security. They need to, whether it is from the regional police or whatever, down to, vigilantes. They must figure out how they arm them, and so on and so forth. We must begin to educate our youth. We must begin to change the way things are going. So it is from the governors or the political people to even the people who control the economy. Most of our economic leaders are in the South. But what are we doing? As long as we don't see security as a major form of management of our state, then we'll continue to lose. Because we are not sending our children to the military. We're not sending to any of the uniformed services. And at the end of the day, this is where the core of the country lies. We must begin to take it more seriously. Which traditional ruler in the South has a child in a uniform service? Which of our top businessmen in the South has a child in uniform service? Former Emir Adubayero, you saw when he was on his stool, his son joined the police and so on. So this is what I'm talking about. We must take security seriously.
Yes.
You can't understand security if you don't even have your own people there who you can talk to, who you can understand. So it is going forward now. Let's not stop talking about insecurity of that. Let them begin to implement it in your house.
Okay, AVM. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time, sir. Sadly, we'll run out of time again. Thank you. We hope to have you sometime soon to continue to break down and, offer us more solutions, because really what we need right now is solutions. Everybody has analyzed the problem, but we need to get practical solutions, and hopefully our leaders will get to listen. Thank you, sir, for your time. Okay, so Farah Wotomo will be joining us shortly, and she'll be speaking with Tomiwa Aladekomo on the recent Twitter ban, and they'll be discussing about how social media is not the enemy. But first of all, Eric will be showing us some simple exercises, routines this morning. Stay with us.
Stay with us.